to the November Open Mic for ANZ. We've been doing this for a few months now, and we're keen to show you all the things, all the new shiny things that have happened in the platform over the last month. We've got a couple of shares from our internal team as well, and there'll be, of course, plenty of time for questions. And if anyone else has something exciting that they want to show off, please yell out, don't be shy. Cool, I will pass over to Jake. Take us on.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. The first thing I'll do is I'll present my screen and cover product and marketplace updates. Oh, not like that. We'll do it like this. Okay, open up that. Bang. All right. Get the... There we go. All right. So in this month's updates for product, we have got a few things we have released. So the first thing is the Cloudmore integration. Essentially, this is for subscription and distribution management, platform-wide, mainly using the EU. But one of the main ones we do also integrate this month is OneStream, also known as BV-VoIP. And there is a demonstration on this as well in this open mic. And essentially, it is for the Technician's Toolbox crate. We have also added a HubSpot Custom App, so you can have more control over your HubSpot integration, things like adding custom scopes, no longer needing to submit support tickets to Anthropic or the Rewst team, as well as managing your own app configuration directly and having greater flexibility over custom HubSpot workflows. We have an Arrow integration coming soon, which is another distributor / license vendor. And with the improvements to the platform, we have improved some functionality on the workflow execution. So what we've done for that is we've made some database changes to make sure that the executions are loading faster and more reliably. And with Robo Rewsty, we have improved the workflow notes functions. So you'll see better positioning as well as enhanced styling and more extensive notes when you are using that function to document your workflows. Now, in Marketplace, I guess the main one is the OneStream Technician's Toolbox. Now, weirdly enough, or funnily enough, it actually doesn't use the integration, the toolbox. It uses the webhook, and via the PSA polls the webhook and the tickets, so you can open up forms directly in the platform of OneStream. We also have added an update ticket form, and this is going to be like a generic one. So we did have one for on and offboarding, but we had some good feedback from clients regarding them wanting a more generalized one. So we have made that crate now so that you can actually just add generic form links or generic links for forms into tickets rather than just being specifically for the on and offboarding, right? Another big one we have released is the Workstation Offboarding. So this removes or deactivates devices from multiple platforms. Ones that are currently supported are ConnectWise, Ninja RMM, Auto Elevate, Huntress, Connect Secure, ThreatLocker, Bitdefender, Halo, and we are adding more. Now, this is a form-based trigger. So based off submitting a form, you will be able to sort of offboard or immobilize a device using the form. We have also got some feedback for adding further platforms, which will be added in the coming months, right? But as for now, all the platforms that I mentioned are native, right? Now, we have also made some addition to Crate. So for the secure cloud, we've added that to the Microsoft User Onboarding. So if you have the integration native, when you're running the workflow for onboarding, that functionality is now embedded into the onboarding workflow. And we have also added some various different licensing vendors into the billing count report crate. And we are looking for feedback. So if there are vendors or platforms that you do use natively, please let us know, because we are continuing to improve that crate for billing and reconciliation. And we have also added some SuperOps crates as well, or the improvements to the crates there as well. I'll touch on education, so I'll touch on this more so in the demonstration, but we have added now an About You page for CluckU, which gives some general information. And one of our new courses is the Rewst crash course. So we have had feedback from our various different clients that, you know, sometimes the up ramp in getting into the platform can be quite aggressive or can create confusion. So we have now got about a 50-minute course It sort of goes with fundamentals of Rewst as the platform, explains some of the fundamental features, functions of Rewst, and it can really help you upskill and get ready for using Rewst in a production sense. Now, what I'll do is I will share my screen and we'll go to the demonstration component of the session. Cool. So I'll move this little Teams box here. So in the first part of the demonstration, we're demonstrating the OneStream Technician Toolbox crate. So you can see here that in my OneStream portal, we have these as defaults basically. And what you can see from this, if I click on one of them, this is the URL that will get polled and it'll open up the form link, right? You can kind of change this, but you can also leave it as default to open the form, and it will pre-populate the appropriate fields because we'll have the context from the form itself, from the organization. And if I go here to a test org, you can see a sort of live demonstration, right? So the tickets come in, let's say it's a service desk tech on a call, right? You can basically select any of these forms here. So let's just say this request is for a user onboarding. You can basically hit this, it'll run the workflow via the webhook and take us directly into the form where the context will be pre-populated. Now, one thing to mention is that if there is a form that you want to have access to and it is not part of your crates or isn't unpacked, if you click the link, what it will actually do is it will take you to the crate so that you can go ahead and actually unpack it, right? So it's just now loading. If it loads too long, I'll just show you it here, but there we go. So as you can see here, it is taking me to Rewst staff, which is where it's sort of linked from. When you are loading the work or the sort of press a link there, it'll take you into your own context with your own org. So if a crate is, well, now it's just going crazy. If a crate is needing to be unpacked, you can simply just unpack that. And if it's form-based, that will be added into the OneStream portal. Now, the next thing I wanted to cover is the Workstation Offboarding crate. So we've had some some sort of feedback from clients that they want to have a way to offboard, devices in their environments. So this is the documentation for that. And what I'll do, I'll briefly walk through the actual workflow itself. So I have got Robo Rewsty to sort of summarize it in the notes, but essentially, as you can see, it's kind of long-winded here, but these are all the different actions for selecting the RMM and decommissioning the device. Now, for some of the platforms, the APIs are limited in the sense that it can't actually offboard the device and only deactivate the device. Now, we'd love to hear your feedback on this because if we have missed something, we can incorporate it into the crate itself and have it be a native function in the workflow. So to keep it simple, we'll go into the form itself. So as you can see here, it's a form-based submission. You can basically select your org from this box. You can select multiple devices, right? So if you wanted to do it against different devices for a client or internally, you can do that. And you can also specify the recipient to receive the email for the audit log. Now, what we can see here is the different platforms to offboard the device on, as well as when you're going into the PSA, if you want to actually inactivate that device instead of deleting it, if you want to have that in place as well, right? So you can see here, there is also functions for EDR, for SentinelOne and Connect Secure, as well as other platforms like Acronis, Nodeware, and LionGuard. Now, I did already run this just to keep, the sort of time scaling of it pretty simple, but this is the execution log. And essentially the email that comes in will look something like this. So this is the audit log to say that the device has successfully been decommissioned, right? And even a failure if there is a platform that didn't work. But this is the sort of scope of what the audit log will be like when you are executing the workflow. Cool. Okay, so the last thing I wanted to just touch on is the updating the ticket with a form link. So again, we did have comment and feedback, mainly from Canny, right, that clients wanted to have a generic way to get form links into tickets. And with the old crate, it was basically focused for primarily onboarding. So we developed out a way or a crate to do it with generic forms, basically, right? And basically, we just unpack it. once it's unpacked, the way it functions is it determines your PSA, it gets the form trigger, generates the link notes, and then adds the form directly as a link into your ticket, streamlining your service desk operations, right? So the last thing I'll touch on here is some of the updates we have made to CluckU. So the first thing to talk about is the About CluckU. And this is a bit of an informational page, right? So there's sort of commonly asked questions, think of it like an FAQ, right? But you can see here sort of the certifications and achievement sections, right? As well as our catalog, as well as course feedback. And if you do need support, right, there is a reference here to CluckU at rewst.io or the CluckU channel in Discord. Now, this course here, the crash course, this is a pretty nice course to go through because there is a bit of an up ramp in sort of knowledge that you need to have when running Rewst to the platform. And this basically just takes you to the fundamentals and explains how workflows work, what integration is, right? You can see it's quite in depth. There is a video right in these sections here. It does also delve into the workflow canvas itself and the different actions and buttons that you do have access to currently, right? We can see here about the configurations of the workflow, as well as explaining triggers and some of our core triggers that you can sort of take advantage of when you are triggering the workflow automations, right? We also have a section here for how data, and that just did that. How data flows as well. So you can see here in this section here, this is how data does flow in Rewst. It does go through the Ginger Live Editor, right, to sort of query the context of a completed workflow so that you can obtain details on points that have failed or points that you need to revise when configuring org variables and so forth, right? Now, the next course that we did release is around webhook triggers. So again, we had some good feedback from clients that wanted to understand how webhooks do work in Rewst. So with this course here, it essentially just goes through and explains how webhooks do function in Rewst as a trigger. You can also see here there is a mechanism to test using curl, right? And with trigger criteria, this is a pretty important one to sort of note, right, and understand. You can set criteria on your webhooks to restrict them down to certain values, right? So a good example would be if you're running a webhook ticket, a ticket polling webhook where you want to actually specify, okay, well, I don't want to have this workflow or webhook run against a certain board, but instead only against the help desk board. So this then goes through on how to actually configure that in the trigger itself. So you can restrict the trigger to a certain condition based off the actual configuration, right? Cool. And I guess last thing to note here is in My Learning, this is your profile. So you can see, courses that you have in progress or completed. You can see here for the certification courses, you can get the cert, add them directly to LinkedIn, and also see your scores. So you probably think I should get 100 right. I only got 90 right. But as it stands here, this is your sort of education profile where you can see the courses that you have gone through. So, any questions on anything that I have spoken about? Okay, well, if that's the case, I'll hand it back to Scarlet and she can progress the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Jake, as always. Now we'll just have a demo. I think this is from Ray, security tabs on tasks and how to redact outputs and inputs. Pass on to you, Ray.
So I'll go ahead and start. So also, if anyone has a demo or anything they want to share today, just let us know in chat. We should be able to make some time for you towards the end. So one of the things that has been coming up quite a bit for different people I've been talking to and just clients with tickets in general is sometimes you've got an API call that goes out. It pulls back data that you may not want in the context or the logs. So for instance, I've got tokens that are coming back. I have a number of passwords that are coming back, a whole heap of different things. Now, Rewst does have the ability to actually redact this data. for you. And it's been built in for a very long time, but I don't know how many people actually know about it or make use of it. Most of the time, if you click in for an output, it's not going to be there. So I'm going to go through how you actually use these fields so you can redact the data that you may want to redact, either on the inputs or the output parameters. High level, I'll just hit test again. So what I did here is I've just gone through and made a dummy API, dummy JSON call with some very, very annoying nested data in here, because one of the things that other people always run into is their data is just not a pure dictionary. There's going to be lots and lots of different arrays at points. There are going to be objects. It's going to be a wide mix. So these fields use JSONPath queries. And if you haven't used them before, we'll just go through how some of them work. So normally, for instance, we all know that in a workflow and in the workflow editor, we can just render the context of our data array list or whatever we're getting at. If I was going to get a password out here, I could do something like this. But what you can also do is you can go and get use the JSONPath query filter and start searching for these things this way. So this is going to be the root of the path. It's going through my result. So if I just bring this up, and then let's just hide that for a second. So standard for most of us who have dealt with Rewst already, we've got the root location, which is the extracted data. We've got the result, and then we've got a password. Same sort of thing. It's just $.result.password. But where it becomes really interesting is once we start looking at more complicated passwords or passwords that have been hidden behind something, that are in arrays. So normally if we're doing a lookup using list comprehension, we'll need to get the service, start looking for the users in the service and dig our way down. Sorry, I'm at section here, which is not showing. So a more complicated area will be here. So I'm in 2 different arrays, and then I'm just looking for the passwords that are being shown. So as you can see, list comprehension, searching through one, searching through a result from here, and then searching deeper. If I was going to do the same thing using JSONPath query, I would only be doing this, which is searching in the root, looking in results, services, and then I can wildcard any array object, go back to .users, another wildcard, and just password, which can be a lot easier to start doing and using rather than doing a full list comprehension search. So now that I've got this query here, I can pull this out, go back to my workflow, drop that in, and it helps if I spell it right. And then if we test that now, go through, and you will now see that all the passwords are being redacted within the API, within the results. Where JSONPath queries become really cool is you can start doing things like this, where I can go, I want to redact anything that has a password key. And if I test that again, and then view the inputs, and redacted every single key that has a password, full stop, through my arrays, through my objects, through my dicks, and it doesn't matter how deeply nested it is, this will go through and this will redact it. So you can start redacting data on the inputs and the outputs. Makes it super easy, super useful if you're, I don't know, sharing a workflow with The Rock or someone else, and you just need to make sure that the inputs and the outputs are being redacted specifically for API keys, bearer tokens, whole bunch of different things that you could do. So for instance, here, I've got an example of just this one. So I've put together a couple of data aliases in this workflow that are going through showing how pull out authorization, headers, passwords, a whole bunch of different things that are sitting right here. I have also documented all of this and how to use JSONPath in Rewst here. So when I share the workflow, you'll be able to read through. I've got lots of different examples so you can look at digging fairly deep into how well JSONPath queries work. The only thing to note, these are doing simple queries. So if you need to do things where you're filtering, and let me go to this screen. As soon as you need to do searches where you're looking up specific context, so maybe I need to look for users who have in an on-call dictionary, and they're currently on call, and I need to find the users there. You need to add this extended equals true mode. So I've gone through and I've documented JSONPath fairly well. I've even gone through and done a visual path example. So that way, when you look at the form, you can see how the visual path links up to the ginger that you'd be putting in. So to get results.services.users.blah, that would be results.services down to users, and here are your user results. So I'll share this out. There's a lot of information. I spent a lot of time in this. I even went through and put time in for comparing what a JSONPath query might look like compared to how you could do it in list comprehension, just so you get an idea and you can train yourself up on here's how I use it. Where JSONPath really stands out though is in the future, you can use it with your list comprehension. So rather than searching for all results and having a really huge list comprehension query, such as this one, I can just use the JSONPath query instead. So both of these things are doing the exact same thing. They just, yeah, both of these things are doing the exact same thing here when I do that. But rather than having to write out all of this, you can literally just use that in your workflows and executions, and it will make your life a lot easier. Does anyone have any questions on what I've shown off? Anything that they want to know? Or even anything about just JSONPath queries in general? Lots and lots of data for you guys. If not, cool. I'll end it here. And I'll share this shortly.
Thanks, Ray. Yeah, that is all from us today. So a bit of a short one. Hopefully next one will be a little bit more packed out. We'll hustle and make sure that we've got some demos that we can share with you all. But yeah, that's all from us today. Thanks, guys. We'll let you go.
Take care,
See you next time. Bye.
Thank you.
See you.